we will talk about Linux basic commands. And these are necessary when you use Linux as your base operating system, and then you appear for exams like CKA, CKAD, which are based on top of Linux operating system. So let's go through some of them and understand how it works. So I have a very simple Linux deployment in my local Windows machine. So I'm using Windows subsystem for Linux, that's WSL2, and that is running on top of Windows 7, Windows 10, and then I have connected my Visual Studio Code to that just to use the terminal. I could also go into the Windows terminal and connect to WSL or directly open the WSL however way you feel like is okay to have. Those are the dark screens, which is not okay for the video. So I thought of using the Visual Studio Code where I can change the color pretty quickly and then switch back to the dark mode with a single click. And then that basically opens up that prompt. So you can see that it's a Linux prompt just to demonstrate that we have got few files over here. So let's start with this ls command. So ls command is about um, understanding the folder structures. So if you say ls minus a, that'll show you all the files, including the dot files. So dot files are the hidden files, so you can just see them. If you use ls minus l, that'll give you the much bit detailed list of the files. So it contains the name of the file, when it was created, was the size of the file, who is the owner of it, and what kind of rights are given. So we're not going to into a very detailed discussion about the ls command. However, if you're using Linux, you can always explore more using the man command to understand what exactly this talks about. Now, what I wanted to start with is that where am I, right? Which folder right now I'm in? I don't know. So to know about that, you use pwd, which talks about where exactly you are. So you can see that I am right now in a mounted folder, which basically pointing me to the some folder which actually is a Windows folder. So if I create a file, it basically I can see that from my Windows machine. So that's one of the convenient way I can work on Linux and then still have the file available with my Windows, which is regularly backed up. That's one way of thinking that. And then I have got another very nice utility kind of command, which basically helps me print anything into the screen. So you can use, say, echo and say hello world. If you do that, you can see that I do not need to use the single quote or double quote. I can just type that and it prints. So it is exactly the same thing. So it won't print the quote, but it will print the text. But if you have, let's say, quote inside your text, you should be wrapping them around. So if you have something, let's say, hello's world, then you can actually say that I want to put a double quote around so that this single quote is kind of um, wrapped inside this and comes as a text. So you can decide how you want to really use this command at the end of the day. So, and then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to show you how you can create a file. But before you create a file, you can create a folder uh, inside the directory you are in. So right now I am in my home directory, that is pwd. So if I come over here and say pwd, it shows me the directory and I can go into, let's say, cd slash home slash redo, and it takes me to that folder, right? And then if I say ls, you see that I have got two files here. So let's create a folder. To create a folder, you can say mkdir and then say folder name. That's the name of the folder. If you say ls now, you have the folder name. So just to show that this is a directory, you can see that folder name is a directory because the beginning of this executable, so the D comes, so that indicates that it is a directory. So the folder is created. To go inside the folder, you have to say cd, that's a change directory, and the folder name, that is folder name. So it takes me to the folder which is right now empty. So you can't see anything inside that. To create a file in Linux, you use something called touch, and then you mention a file name, let's say file1. In Linux, you don't necessarily need to always provide an extension, but if you provide it, it's also part of the file name. So that is the file which got created. So you will find that file now located, but the file size will be very less. So you can see that the size of the file is 0 KB because there is no data inside that file. So you can't really see a size because there is no text added. To add any text to an existing file, we use typically a VI editor or Vim editor, or you can also add something by, let's say, passing on in the pipe. So let's say I want to say hello world and then type inside the file without opening that file. So I can use something called echo and I say hello world. If I say that and then use this arrow key and then the file name, that is um, the file1.txt, what happens in that file now, there'll be some data. So if I say ls minus 1, you will find that there is some 12 KB of data. So some amount of data is being there. Earlier it was 0. So that data is now inside that file. Now, how do I see that? What is there inside the file? To use that, you can use cat. So cat is a command which allows you to read the file in the standard output. So if you say file1.txt, the content of the file comes up. Now let's say I want to insert another data, let's say hello world 2, and then do this. What happens? Whatever is there will be replaced by this new thing. So if I open this cat file again, you will now find hello world 2. To append something through this kind of pipe command, you can just use, let's say I want to use hello world 3, but I want to this time not replace, but append, you can use double arrow. So if you do that, then the content of the file you will see when you open the file using cat command, it'll have both the lines like hello world and hello world 3. So if you already have a file and then if there is anything inside that file, you should always be using double arrow sign to append that value if you don't want to replace. So just make sure that you don't miss by mistake replace everything inside a file using the arrow key. It looks simple, it's a powerful one and doesn't give you any warning whether you are replacing any content of the file or not, but it will do the work for you. So it is very easy to really play around with files whenever there's a need to do that. So if let's say we have many different lines inside the file, we add hello world 3 couple of times, then it becomes more and more. You can say now if I say cat file1.txt, you will find all of these hello worlds showing up in this. So they are all part of the same file, now multiple lines. Now, if you have large file, so if you want to open this, so you can use something like less command, or you can say cat file name pipe less. So it will basically go one by one because there's nothing much, so it will show in the same screen. You just need to press Q to come out of that thing. So if you really have a large file, so you can just go on adding, let's say I want to add few more lines just to have this thing. And if I say cat file name, it will show me the list, but it's now bigger. If I now use less, what happens? I get to see this, and you can see that if I enter, it changes. So there is no different text, so that's why you don't see the change, but it basically pages the output into, and then I can keep entering, and that will give me the desired output if I want to work on. So I have kind of uh, shown you how you can create a file, how you can add data to the file, how you can read that file in the standard output. There are a couple of different ways to do that. Now, this file is created, but let's imagine that I kind of have created this file by mistake. So I want to kind of this queue come out. I want to rename this file. So right now we have only one file, file1. So to rename this file, you can do copy. The copy command basically copies one file to another file. So if I say file1 and then say file2, what happens in the folder, the file1 gets copied into file2, right? So which means that I now have two copies for the same file. Now, if I want to remove, let's say, file1 into another folder called archive, which I do not have at this point in time, but I can create, make dir arch arc, and then I want to copy the file1 to this archive folder, which is the subdirectory of this directory. So what I can do, I can say mv and then say file1, and then I can just move it to the archive folder. That's a folder. And then I say file1. If I just mention the folder name, it'll move the file. If I give a name, it'll rename that file. So right now, if I say ls, you will only find the archive folder and the file2. If I go to ls, I say ls and then say archive file1.txt, you will find the archive file1.txt. If I just say ls archive, you will find file1.txt. If you say cat archive, so staying in the same folder, you can go and read file from another folder. You don't have to go in that folder to read the file from that folder. That's also very convenient option here. So you can say archive is definitely not a root directory, so I will just use it. So you can see that the archive file opens. However, I am in the folder, not in the archive folder. So I can still get the full path and then actually relative path of that file from that folder and then move it there. So you have seen the cp command, you have seen the move command, right? You've seen the echo command, and then let's say something like a grep command. So grep is your friend. It helps you search things in the output. So if you have this file, let's say you have this file with echo hello 4. So there is something different, hello 4, and then I say file 2.txt. So the file 2.txt now will have hello 4. So if I normally say cat file2.txt, it shows everything from that. But I want to search the hello 4, right? If I have to do that, I can use this pipe and use grep. And then if I want to do a simple search, I'll have to say exactly the same, the way how it is being typed. So hello 4 comes up. You can see that hello 4 shows. If I do not have the text, nothing will show up. So if I have hello 5, it won't come. If I have just the hello, which is basically in every line, then every line shows. So it is basically a search, right? If I say that I want to search hello, you don't find because there is nothing like hello with small h. So you have to type it properly, or else if you don't know the exact case, you can always say case insensitive, saying -I, and then you can see all the hello, even the hello 4. If you say the hello 4 shows up. Now, if you say hello 4 and then I and then C and then 3, that means that surrounding 3 kind of lines. So you'll find that since hello 4 is the last line, it showed the previous 3 lines. If it is in the middle of the file, it would have been showing the next 3 lines also. So total 7 lines it will be showing, including the search place. So you can find this kind of effective way of finding things or reading files when you have a large text file. You don't want to actually do a reading like a newspaper reading and read every character manually by yourself. So this really helps a lot of time when you work on the Linux command for typical exam scenario. So I want to also talk about few utilities already available. For example, if you say cal, that's basically a calendar. So it's basically shows you that month's calendar. If you say cal 2021, which is basically the year's calendar, so You can see the whole calendar shows up in the screen. You can take a print, put it in the file, and then take a print. That these are all, what is the date of this today? So that today's date, including the time, is this one. So this is the local time, the IST. It shows even the time zone, the date, the current time, etc. So you can see that these are all small utility kind of helper available with the Linux basic command, which you can play around with it. So it basically helps in the sense like when you work on file and then you've been asked to, let's say, put things into a file and then read the content from the file or modify something in the file. So we have a talk on VI editor where we showed the various different ways how you can use the VI editor to edit the content. But if you think from this perspective, you will find like there are a lot of quick things which helps. So another two quick thing I wanted to really talk about are the wget and curl command. So let's just show you that wget and curl command. So if I say wget, that's a command which helps you get the URL. So if I say wget and then I say dash o dash, that's a capital O, and then if I say https://www.microsoft.com, if I do that, it shows the Microsoft website. Forbidden. Okay, it's not there. So let me type something like bing.com. So we'll not use HTTPS, we'll use simple HTTP. And you can see the HTML content showing up in the screen, which is basically coming from the Bing website, right? So you can see that there's a lot of things, right? So there's a lot of script and all these things. It basically comes up. You can also save the file output into a folder, right? So you can just save it to a folder. You can give the URL and you can recursively download the file from the URL. There are many different ways by which you can kind of use this wget command. Similarly, we have got curl command. Curl command also enables you to do a command line based browser. So you can use the curl to browse through any website, which is there's a URL, right? So you can go and then browse to that website using the curl command, right? So that's a kind of basic setup Linux command. You should be exploring more because Linux gives you a lot of built-in capability of getting the help. So if, for example, you don't know what is wget, you can use wget minus minus help. That will give you what all options you can pass, what all kind of parameter you need to provide, which one is optional, which one is mandatory. So all these things, including some sample, right? So it will help you explore the command and then know what all options you have already available. So use the help command, which is already in the command prompt. Any command prompt you use targeting to Linux, you can get the help, know about that command, and explore more. So if you have to search for something like wget help and then say grep and minus I, case sensitive, insensitive, I don't know that, download. So how do I download a file? So you will find the download options showing up here in this list, right? So it only, let me clear this up and then say download, and you can see the output is now very limited. So it only showcases the command or which has got a text called download, right? So you can get like only the few option, and then that's what you are probably looking for. Easy for you to really go ahead and then find out that information. So hope this was helpful, and I would recommend that you go and explore more if you're new to Linux, because having that comfort of using the command line, doing everything through keyboard is mandatory, because you should not be limiting yourself, not knowing what exactly you wanted to do and then how you wanted to do that. So you should be very comfortable. It's not tough. It just need a bit of practice. So thank you very much.